Good morning. Good morning. This is July the 21st, episode 13 of the Checkin In podcast. Glad to have you join in. I am live streaming on YouTube, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So, hello to all my friends as you're coming in. Glad to have you join in today. Ian, great to see you. Looking forward to connecting. I got your message last night. For sure, we can totally connect on Thursday afterwards. Yes, but welcome to the Checkin In podcast, episode 13, July 21st, 2021. This is a podcast where we do three things as we answer self-reflective questions. Number one, we want to grow in awareness of ourselves. Secondly, we want to maximize our happiness. And thirdly, we want to learn to be kind to ourselves. These are three things that I want to accomplish for myself. And I also want to encourage you to join me in doing the same for yourself as we consider these self-reflective questions. I usually analyze the question for the first little bit, answer the question, invite you to join, and answer as well as we grow together. Today's question is, which goals didn't you accomplish this week, month, or year? And why do you think that was? So it's a bit of a let's check up on ourselves and see how we can be growing. It's one of those growing questions. And so, good morning, Reese. How are you? Good morning to everyone who's coming on. Glad to have you guys join in for the 13th episode. No, 14th, sorry. 14th episode of the Checkin In podcast. Something I'm wondering too, guys, is if this might be a better context doing this recorded and still trying to keep the live streams that I did before, but maybe just on a more brief time frame, because there's a live stream option that I have featured on my website, binnymasters.com. So check that out. Thank you guys for the encouragement coming in. I really appreciate that. Looking forward to spending some time with you all. But I am encouraged by your kind words. So thank you. Let's jump into our question today. Today's question: which goals did you accomplish this week, this month, this year? Which goals did you not accomplish? Now, we have actually looked at the positive side of this question here. I think if you did your podcast a little later during the day, more people would be on live. Oh, okay, Abaya. That's really helpful reflection too. So you're thinking it might catch more later on. That's a really helpful note I have to consider. Thank you for your input. I do appreciate that. So back on the 9th, a few days back, that was, like 12 days ago, we considered the positive side of this question when we said, Ian also agrees about doing it later. You're an amazing person. Thank you, Bea. I appreciate that. So Ian was suggesting, hey, Tara, nice to see you. The positive side of this question is, which goals did you accomplish this week, month, or year? So we covered that already. We're looking at the other side now by way of keeping up. And so this question is, which goals did you not accomplish this week, this month, or this year? And why do you think that was? I am looking forward to answering this. It's a little bit scary because I'm like, yep, I've got some accounting to do. So yes, I'm about to jump into this. But before I do, let me talk about why this is a really good question and why it should deserve our attention. This is a great question because on the one hand, it's always good to look at the encouraging side of things and saying, here's what I got done. It feels good when we finish something as far as a goal and how we progress towards it. That's a wonderful thing, especially because it reminds us to keep the momentum going, to keep working forward, because it's worthwhile. But it's also really helpful for our growth to consider, how can we get better at something? How can we improve on something? And so this is the other side of that question that says, hey, in the midst of remembering things that you've already done, also reflect on things that you have yet to accomplish, things that maybe didn't quite work out as according to plan. That's an okay thing. Sometimes we beat ourselves up for these unfinished tasks or these unfinished goals. I don't think the nature of this question is for us to beat ourselves up. So remember, one of the points of this podcast is, how can we learn to be kind to ourselves even while we take an accounting for things that we did or didn't do. So, number one, I think this is a great question to consider because it puts us in that reflective mode of saying, hey, things don't always work out. But even when they don't, even when we might be at fault because we didn't have our planning well, or maybe because we didn't actually prioritize in a helpful way, or we didn't apply ourselves when we had the opportunity, it doesn't mean we beat ourselves up and say, "Man, how terrible we are." But more so, how can we do that in a helpful way going forward by way of saying, this is quite all right. This is quite all right that we're working our way through this. And this is just a point that we need to acknowledge for growth as we realign. So that is number one, the helpful part, the accountability part that says, okay, let's take stock of what was supposed to be, but it didn't come to pass, and why didn't it come to pass? This is helpful for us to grow through this process here. The second point is that it also gives us that follow up question: why do you think that was? We can assess and analyze and say, well, this is what we endeavored. Here's why it didn't work out as far as what we thought. And that gives us some tools to be able to shift and then re-engage, to shift and re-engage towards what we're really trying to accomplish, right? And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, especially when we're practicing how to be self-aware, which is one of those other pillars of our podcast. So instead of like being mean to ourselves and saying, man, we're terrible for not having this done, we're saying, hey, it didn't get done. Let's try again. We're not out of the game yet. Secondly, it also reminds us that we are growing in self awareness of ourselves and saying, here's what I'm working through right now. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this tendency over here to be lazy. I'm seeing this tendency over here to procrastinate. I'm seeing this context in which I am putting things off for later. So these are some helpful intel as we consider how to shift, pivot, and re engage. And that's a really important thing. Really important thing. So consider what that looks like for you, even as I answer this question for myself. And then finally, it also reminds us of our humanity. And this one here is the one I value the most because we weren't destined to be perfect people, were we? We weren't destined to have everything figured out. And life is a struggle for us to work our way through. It's a struggle for us to look and reflect on those areas that we could focus on to become better, those areas of challenge that we're experiencing. And so that doesn't mean that we're right off. No, not at all. In fact, I've come to value so much this element in my own personal experience when I'm fumbling my way forward, when I'm trying to figure things out and say, this is something I want to experience in a better way. What does that look like when we are able to do that? This is perhaps the most endearing part for me that I like reflecting on when I think about my own growth is how to be able to take stock of those areas where I'm like saying, hey, this didn't quite work out the way I hoped it would, but that does not mean that I'm out of the game. It just reaffirms my humanity and your humanity. And in our reflecting of that humanity, this also means that we get to connect with each other at that point of reference. It says, hey, I know what it's like to not have things go according to plan. I know what it's like to procrastinate or to mismanage. No, to ill manage my time. I know what it's like to miss the mark, and it's in that point that we remember and reflect that our common experience is further strengthened when we're able to encourage one another by way of saying, hey, I've been there before. It doesn't mean we have to stay there. Let's together work our way back out of this scenario. So, this is what this question is designed to do. It may seem like a negative question that brings more discouragement, but it doesn't have to do that. When we think about those things that we have dropped the ball on, as we think about it, those things that we want to remember is how to be kind to ourselves in reflecting on those areas that we missed out on. Not beating ourselves up unnecessarily, but taking honest stock of how we missed the mark. Secondly, it is also reminding us how to be self aware about ourselves. What are those things we see about ourselves that we think this could use some improvement, and I'm going to commit to that. And how can we progress forward on that front? And then finally, oh goodness, this is the part that I value the most and I resonate with the most. It reminds us of our common humanity. Our common humanity does not lead us to reflect on how we are perfect without any mistakes in our past, but how we are frail and how we are trying to figure out our way forward. And that is the point I think that really helps hone in how we can grow in our connections with others is when we're willing to be vulnerable about these elements. And so I'm going to model for you now what that looks like for me. So here, reading some encouraging feedback. I love the encouraging feedback in the chat, guys. Thank you for doing that. Let me answer this question in the three contexts it asks. What are some things I did not accomplish, some goals I did not accomplish in the last week, the last month, and the last year? Here we go. In the last week, what I've been planning to do is focus some time to train myself to learn to dig into how to organize some email funnels on my website so that it does some automated emails for me. That's an area that I have yet to get familiar with on my website that I've put together, and I've been kind of procrastinating on it. And so that's a goal I did not accomplish this past week that I want to commit to. I watched a couple of preliminary videos. I still need to like roll up my sleeves, as it were, and get right in there and sort that out because I feel that's kind of holding me back a little bit from continuing to market and invite you guys out to my websites and to engage and participate with me in that platform. So I need to figure that out. So that's one thing this week that I have neglected. It's a goal that I had for this week that I wanted to get to, but I haven't quite gotten to. Additionally, I haven't also gotten to the other component that is really pushing my membership tiers that I want to encourage people to sign up for. So that is also exciting, but yet I haven't quite done the goals that I accomplished the goals that I had set out for myself. So I'm feeling a little bit thoughtful about that. Now, the second part of the question is, why do I think that this has been so? Let's see here. We just finished a really busy week with the Stampede season here in my city. That's a really busy one. I checked your website out. It's already great. It looks great. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. So yes, there is the component of a busy week that I was finishing, but then at the close of that busy week, I had scheduled to have my kids with me. And so when I have my kids, I am off the clock with work stuff because I have focus time with my kids. So yeah, I'm going to be dropping the kids off later this afternoon/evening. So I think in that context, I should probably get to it. One of the things I want to see if I can work towards accomplishing this goal is reducing the hours that I'm working driving for Uber right now so that I can focus some time to do this because I only have so much time and so much energy in a day. And usually when I maximize my work on one or the other, I just sort of like have nothing left over. So I need to sort that out. That's one thing I need to work out this week. This month, what is something I've been trying to get accomplished, but I have not done this month? Well, today, this is July. A goal that I've had this month is, I think for me, it would be, what would it look like for me to, it's hard not to get burned out. Yes, Tara, I totally agree. It is a tough thing not to get burnt out. I am so agreeing with it. This is my place. Hello, my dear friend Heather. How are you? And this is my podcast that I'm on right now, answering the question, which goals didn't I accomplish this week, month, and year? And this is something I'm doing on an ongoing basis, especially for purpose of growing in awareness of myself, learning to be kind, and to maximize my happiness. And so I'm sharing that experience with you guys, my followers. So glad to have you, Heather. Miss you as well. So yes, this month, a goal that I haven't accomplished this month. That is, I haven't been able to see myself pushing for some goals that I want to accomplish on my website by way of memberships and so on. And so I want to commit more time in striving for that. And so along those lines, this is something I want to commit myself to. I want to commit myself to going for that this month. Some exciting things I have along the line, and yet sometimes other commitments in life come along the way where you sort of get diverted. You sort of get diverted and saying, "Oh, I got to focus on this or doing this or attending to this." And my goodness, time keeps on running by, right? And so it's for me that breaking up of my time to say, how can I set this time aside and say, this is it only? I haven't been able to see you. No, I haven't, but I definitely am looking forward to seeing you again, my dear Heather. It's something that, yeah, I really miss. So I hope we get that chance again. Most of my followers don't get that kind of access, but it would be nice to reconnect. So yes, that is something that I have on my horizon here, and so I'm going to be doing some concentrated efforts in investing towards getting some goals in my membership. And that is pretty exciting. Have you ever been to Canada's Wonderland? Where is that, Ian? I'm not even sure where that is. But I would probably say maybe not. I don't know though. I'm living in a pretty fantastic part of the country right now too. So that's another goal that I have for this month is to be able to focus on getting to some goals with my membership, and I'm calling the 1.5K. 1.5K meaning who are the first 1,500 people that are going to be part of this group that I'm facilitating and connecting on my website. And I'm so looking forward to that community because there is so much value that I'm wanting to give, especially by way of my time, but also al- along the lines of growing together in our experience. We had this ongoing conversation of Canada's Wonderland. Ian is saying it's Vaughan outside Toronto. It sounds like Heather's on the same page. I've never heard of this place here. Reese, it's been good. It's good to have you back as well. Thanks for joining in. So that is a goal that I want to accomplish that I've not done this month. Why haven't I accomplished that goal this month? Again, I think it's just because of the busy factor, given the stampede, and it was a great time just to earn some income in the meantime and catch up a little bit that way because it's been a bit of a stretch still financially, and so I'm still paddling economically to try and stay afloat while biggest amusement park, eh? I did not know that. Amazing. Yes, uh, it's been a really busy time that I thought, let's capitalize on this while I get a chance. And so I am so looking forward to accomplishing that goal. And I want to row hard towards that goal. So that's the 1.5K club. Who is going to be a part of it? I do not know. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this podcast here. And finally, which goals haven't I accomplished this year? Well, this year has been full already. We're at the end of a pandemic. We are experiencing new freedom by way of lack of restrictions where I'm at in the world. And on top of that, we're also now finally being able to see the one club. It's the 1.5K club. So basically, I'm aiming for my goal this year. Sorry, yeah, actually, that's more of a yearly goal. By the end of the year, it would be fantastic to say that you have helped me get through my depression. And I just wanted to say thank you. Reese, I really appreciate that, my friend. I'm so glad I was able to help you that way. I'm encouraged that you've been inspired along those lines. And it means a lot to me to hear that. So the monthly goal I said was I think the 1.5, but that's more of a yearly one. So I have to come back to the monthly one. The yearly one by the end of this year is to see that kind of a membership that I have been able to rally together and be part of this community that I am developing on my website. That's the 1.5K club. That's a really big goal that I'm aiming for with intentionality. I'm so looking forward to experiencing what that's like and what we're going to accomplish together. Even yesterday, I was hoping to get some couple of videos off, but I wasn't able to just because of time with the kids, and that was a more important priority for me. And so I've committed myself there. But so that would be one of my goals that I want to accomplish this year. Why haven't I gotten there? Just dedicated time again for me is dedicated time in doing the marketing, doing the ongoing videos saying, guys, here's what's up. I'm in the one club and the 1.5 club. Fantastic, Ian. I'm looking forward to this growing connection that we're going to be able to share as we go forward. I want to start growing microgreens and leafy greens, says Tara on the YouTube live chat, then see if I can sell them to restaurants. Oliver says, what time is it currently? It's right now about 9:30 in the morning here. 9:30 here in the morning. So that's what's going on here. But Ian, I am glad that you are going to be part of that as well. I'd love to have you guys along for that there, but I'll just talk a little bit more about that at the end of this podcast. As far as the monthly goal that I have yet to accomplish, because the 1.5 is not the monthly one, that's more like the yearly one, because that's a very aggressive one. The monthly one is to do consistent marketing throughout the month. And so, consistent marketing by way of saying, hey guys, here's what's going on. Here's what my plans are. Yesterday, someone was asking, what are the, like, where can we find your work? Are you still driving for Uber? And so also communicating what that looks like, because I know changing that dynamics. I'm even hearing from someone earlier who was saying, hey, I haven't seen you. Haven't been here for so long and haven't seen your TikToks for a while. That was Snay and Reese. And so I know it's challenging to keep in touch, and there's different dynamics that are at play. And so, yeah, I want to acknowledge that even as I reflect on some of these big things that I'm doing. It's hard to keep up. And so I want to keep you guys abreast of that. But a huge part of that is saying, hey, here's what I'm investing myself in right now. Here's what I'm applying myself to. Here's where I'm finding tremendous worth that I want to invite you guys to join me on as well. And that would be tremendously fantastic to see that kind of a partnership. And so that is one monthly goal that I want to commit to, and saying, what does that look like for me to apply myself to? Is the marketing, the giving you guys an ongoing update on here's what's going on, and here's how you can be a part of it, and here's how we can grow together. So please do consider coming and joining in that endeavor. So these are three things that I have identified that I really want to hone in on. These are more along the lines of here's what I want to do to grow in my own personal achievement and accomplishment of my goals. These are things that are important to me, of course, important to me by way of value that I'm investing in as I go into the future. I don't want to see these things drop by the wayside. I've invested far too much to just see them dissipate and disappear. That's not what I want. I want to see these things become successful. I want to see these things take off and grow. And one of those things I think I'm known for is that I work hard towards these goals. My siblings have often commented to me saying, Biniam, you are the hardest worker we've ever known. And you take whatever you do work wise, as simple as it might be, you just take it from this level and then up your game and just make it even more value that you add. And so that has been encouraging for me to hear, even as I reflect on where I've been and what I've accomplished and where I'm going to go and what I do want to accomplish. And so these are some of the things that I'm wanting to implement in my life. So, even as I have shared these things with you, I realize that I'm also keeping myself accountable. Accountable because now I've shared them with you guys and said, now you know what's on my radar and what I'm trying to accomplish. And you can see me through. You can ask me questions saying, Biniam, are you still doing what you're aiming to do? Those goals that you set, are you still striving for them? What does that look like for you? So, I've listed a few here. I've listed a few by way of committing more time to getting this email funneling thing figured out on my website, because that takes a bit of like know-how and a commitment there that I have yet to acquire. And so that comes just by time, me spending time to do that. Secondly, I've also shared with you guys that I'm wanting to do this on a regular basis by way of marketing throughout the month, and I haven't done that. So I've neglected that goal this month, and hence why I'm not seeing as much as I'd like to by way of growth. Thank you for the presence, by the way, Alex. That's very kind. And then thirdly, I also want to see my 1.5K club established by the end of this year. And so I can't wait to be able to share that with you guys. You can listen to this podcast, TikTok Addict, on Spotify right now and a few other platforms. I don't think it's on Apple yet for some reason, so I got to figure that out as well. But right now it's on Spotify. This is the Been Checking In podcast that you're listening to, and I'm so thrilled that you could spend time. This is one I do on a regular basis on weekdays in the morning usually, but I'm playing with a time frame to see when is the best time, and some of the suggestions were to consider doing this a little bit later in the day to have a better reach for the audience. I have 3 other podcasts, if you can believe it, 3 other podcasts that you may or may not know about. The one is, this is the first one, the Been Checking In podcast. Second is a Friendology podcast that I do with some friends. You can check that out as well on Spotify, Friendology. The third is a mom series, which I'm adding audio from my Uber rides, the memorable Uber moments. I'm putting that in audio for podcast as well. That takes some time. And then I haven't mentioned much about this yet, but the Benazmer narrations. This is where I'm committing to reading books because some of you love the way my voice sounds, and so you want to hear that more often. So I thought, what better way to share my voice than through podcasting? And let me talk about the 1.5K Club. The 1.5K Club is the first 1,500 people who are able to join my membership and become a part of that community and become like the founding members of what I'm planning to establish. It's going to be thousands upon thousands of people who are joining. But you guys who are in the first 1,500 get the notable distinction of being part of the initial 1.5K. Imagine what it's like to join in at the very early outset. I know in my previous live streams, you guys have really said, hey, I was here from the very beginning. I'm one of your loyal followers, and I want to give that opportunity for you guys who are in at the early outset. That's 1.5K Club that I have for my membership. So if you are wanting to be a part of that, check out my website, biniamasters.com. And there you'll find membership tiers that you can be a part of. I would love to have you join in and be a part of that community there. As well, I also have a resource I want to share with you guys, and that is my 2 bits, or as it were, 3 bits on how I maintain happiness. How I maintain happiness in an ongoing way in my personal life, and how you guys can also have that as well. I watched an episode of Friendology, says Ian, once. It was great to see. And you seem to have great friends. I have got amazing friends. I really value and esteem my friends. And I love what we get to do. When I asked them to consider going in with me on that podcast or Friendology, I explained the ethos of why we wanted to do this. I wanted to model what male friendship looks like. And I wanted to ask if they would partner with me on that. And these guys graciously, even though some of them are not really big in front of being in front of the camera, were saying, Binyam, that sounds like a worthwhile thing. We want to be a part of that too. And so they joined and partnered with me, and I really appreciate them. So I love sharing them with you and some of the ways that we engage, Ian. And so I'm glad that serves you as well too. But that's the Friendology podcast on Spotify. So I'd love for you to check that out too. These are dear friends, like I said. And the purpose that we are sharing that experience with you guys is because we want to be able to encourage and inspire you guys in your own context. We want to model what friendship amongst guys could look like. There's a lot of traditional stereotypes of what guys do or don't do, and we want to blow apart some of those and just model saying, here's a bunch of guys getting together, chatting about worthwhile topics, disagreeing, agreeing, along the way, but just saying, here's what could be. And so that really means a lot. But do check out the website, biniamasters.com/happiness. This is the resource that I put together, a simple little resource of my best tips that I have come up with of how I want to experience happiness in my own life and how I want to challenge you to experience that same happiness. That's so great. You never get to see true male relationships displayed. Ian, it's really important, I think, to model what that could look like. Some of you guys love the headphones you've been mentioning. Thank you for that. But yes, so check out beniamasters.com/happiness. Check out that resource. I would love to commend that to you. Now, let me just give you a disclaimer. That resource is not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart, because in that resource, it's actually hard-hitting tidbits, ingredients. It's going to dig deep in your life, but it's worthwhile because so many good things in life come when we apply ourselves to the hard work. I would love to help you through that experience if you're finding it really daunting and challenging. In fact, hell, let me know in the comment section there if you value this mini course being done as maybe like a live stream of sorts where I can walk you through that and have access. You guys have access to ask me questions. I'd love to make that resource possible if possible. But thank you for joining in this episode 13 of the Checkin In podcast. Love you guys. I will see you soon. Bye for now on the TikTok. Thanks for joining, guys. Love you guys immensely. And of course, my dear friends over on Instagram, I appreciate you guys as well. See you tomorrow. And of course, on the YouTube live stream. Much love to you guys. Chat soon. Thanks again for being here today. Value you guys. Bye for now.